Hello, afternoon everybody. I hope you can see my screen and also hear my voice clearly. So today's webinar we are going to look at what actually drives the economies. We are going to look at oil. Specifically, we're going to look at the impact of COVID-19 on the oil prices. So in this, we're going to look at two categories of oil, like two classifications of oil. We look at WTI. We look at WTI. We'll also look at the Brent oil and how they have been affected by the current situation. So the situation which you're talking about now is actually known as the COVID-19. So for those of us who don't understand what this is the meaning of coronavirus. It's known as the coronavirus. It's actually a family of viruses that range from the common cold to mass coronavirus, which is a Middle East respiratory syndrome coronavirus, and SARS, severe acute syndrome respiratory syndrome, also known as the coronavirus. So if you're that person who has been following oil, you must have noticed by now that when this thing broke out, when this SARS broke out, there was actually a big decline in the price of oil. When this one also came out, there was also much decline in price of oil. And as we're speaking now that the COVID-19 has come up, there's also a similar thing happening with the oil. So the next thing you need to know about this coronavirus is, where does it come from? So I'm getting to this, and there's something I'm actually getting to. I'm not just saying this for the sake of it. There's somewhere we want to look at how relevant it is to the price of oil. That's why I keep mentioning everything that you need to know about it. So where does it come from? Coronavirus comes from circulating in animals, and some of these animals have the capability of transmitting between animals and humans. We call that spill-off event. The other thing you need to know is how can you help yourself from contracting it. So typically the cause is through, if you're not hygienic, then you may transfer to somebody else, or you may touch an animal which already has it. Through that means you'll be able to contract. So to avoid it, you have to observe the basic hygiene. Wash your hands properly. Then when you sneeze into your elbow. And then the next thing, protect yourself against potential animals source would be avoided necessarily. Another thing, cook meat thoroughly before consuming it. So this is what coronavirus is all about. So we want to look at the effect of this on how is this relating to forex market. How do you relate coronavirus or this thing to the oil market? So the first thing, the virus itself started in China. That's the first thing. It started in a place known as Wuhan, and so far China is the only company that consumes the most oil. So when this thing came up, most people actually had to stop their consumption of oil. So this meant that if we are contributing maybe 100% to China, we have to give them now just 20%. The rate at which they were importing oil has actually decreased to almost 20%. So decrease in oil prices means that there's decrease in the demand of oil means that there's increase in surplus. And when the surplus of anything increases, that means the price has to go down. So this is how the curves looks normally. This is how the curves looks normally. I'll do some drawings here. I'll do some drawing. So there's the aspect of demand and supply which actually has contributed to the price of oil declining. This is the horizontal line, and this is the vertical line. This is the horizontal one. This is the demand for anything. When the price of oil increases, when the demand for anything increases, the price of that particular thing also increases. So when the demand for oil increases, the same thing is happening. When the price increases, the demand decreases. and when the price decreases, the demand increases. So this is the demand curve. This is what has been happening. This is the price. The vertical axis is the price, and the horizontal axis, this is the quantity demanded. So as the quantity demanded increases, the price actually increases. So the other thing is the supply curve, which is this one. This is the supply curve. I'll mark this with a different color. So the price is always here. When the supply of anything is low, the price for that given thing is actually very, very high. So as the quantity supplies increases, you can see that the price decreases along this line. It decreases, and then there's a point where we have this, the equilibrium level. So when this is broken, that the supply is now much higher than the demand, the price of that given thing continues to decline. So this is exactly what happened with oil. What happens is this: those guys who are using oil so much, those who needed oil in China, they actually decreased their production, which means they now needed less oil. They now needed very, very much less oil. So when the demand for that thing it decreased, the supply increased, and therefore the price decreased. So that's partly what contributed to the price of oil decreasing. So as a result of the current situation, that's the current COVID-19 situation, most companies have shut down. Most individual companies, governments, they have actually been in shutdown, which means they cannot import any oil and they cannot produce anything. Therefore, there's like a very big increase in the supply of oil. And when that happens, the people who demand it, which we expect to increase, they're not there at the moment. The price has to come down naturally. So that can explain why the price of oil has actually been on the losing, and that's why we have this sell here. Other than the current situation, we also had the trade war between Saudi Arabia and Russia, but I'm not going to dwell so much into that. So let us look at the real chart, and then we see exactly one classification of oil to see how the impact has been on the oil market. Let's load that. We'll start with Brent oil. That's the best classification of oil. So this is what happened. This is the economic crash that happened. This is 2008. This is the first time there was this massive decline. This is the economic crash, the financial crisis that happened in 2008. First of all, there's this increase in price. The price actually went massively upwards, and then there was a big decline in price, and then there was that big move upwards. Then there was massive decline, and then there was another move to the upper side. Then there was massive decline. So we understand exactly what caused the price to go down. This is the 2008 economic crisis. This is what caused it. And then something else was responsible for this one. And then we also have what happened just recently, which caused the price to move down. This is the COVID-19, the effect of the COVID-19. So we understand, the first one we understand very well that this was due to the 2008 economic crisis. We understand that this was as a result of the 2008 economic crisis. The price went down, and then there was this recovery phase. Then there was another correction phase. Then there's the recovery phase, and then we have now the effect of the COVID-19, which has caused the price to move down. This is several pips below. So as long as the fears of this coronavirus continues, we actually expect price to remain downwards. We expect the price of oil to decrease because so far there's no demand for it. Most companies have shut down. The people who demand oil the most have actually shut down. China itself, which is the most consumer of oil, has actually shut down most of its companies. And from whatever is happening now, you can see that the cases which we had very few cases for some few months ago, they are now increasing. So that means we may see a scenario where we may be faced to shut down again. And when that happens, the price of oil is actually expected to decline. So technically, fundamentally, that's what's happening outside. But technically, based on the chart, we can see the effect. This is the effect. And let me mark this a different color so we are able to see it. There's a whole effect. This is the effect as a result of the coronavirus. So we have this. We have a level here. This is a very, very good trend line. This is a very, very good trend. This is where actually the price may go up to. As long as the fears of the COVID-19 continues to prevail, we expect price to continue to the lower side. So expect price to proceed up to the level which I've mentioned. Expect price, the price may go up to this trend line. Just a second. We do have a level here. This is a very, very good level. At the same time, we do have another one here. It's another one. But what this means is so if you are following whatever has been happening so far, following the shutdown of most companies and everything, you can basically see that the price actually went below a very significant supportive trend, this one here. So this means we still expect price to proceed to the lower side. We actually expect price to go up to this trend line, the one we are having here. On the upper side, we do have this one here. I do have this a very good trend line. So if you look at this thing carefully, you can see that we actually had a trend. Then as I'm speaking now, the price of oil is actually consolidating in a bearish manner. It's like it's correcting itself, but to the lower side. We do have, this is a shape. This is a very, very good shape. So when the price went up and then it began to consolidate within this shape here, this could have given somebody the chance to actually look for a sell. And not just because there was this situation of the COVID-19, the price was bound to go downwards, because we had the same thing happened previously. A massive rise in price, there's a decline, a massive rise in price, there's a decline, there's a massive rise in price, and then there's a decline. So what this means is we are still downwards. We actually expect price to retrace just slightly to the upper side. Then it should give us a sell signal to the lower side. So this is what should be happening. If you are on this chart now, expect further decline in the price of oil. So expect sellers to come in. Expect so expect sellers to dominate this market. Expect a sell from this point here up to this trend line on the monthly, and then we'll also look at the same chart on the weekly basis so that we see what we expect to be happening. On the weekly chart, we have almost the same thing. This is when the session started. This is when the session started. So if you are looking at this barely just by looking at the charts itself, you actually could have seen the possibility of price going to the lower side. So I'll explain that. We have a level here. We did have some resistance here. Then we had a support there. So we had a resistance, there's a break, there's a retracement, and then we have a sell at this point here. So when the price broke below this point, this was a very, very good confirmation that we're supposed to continue to the lower side. So if you're looking at this chart, actually, you could have seen this as a support. This was a support, and this was a support here. then there was a break below, there was this retracement. So this is the correct place you actually could have sold it from. So even technically we had the opportunity to pick a sell trade. We could have sold it there, and then we had our take profit there, the first one, and then the next one should be here, which as I'm speaking now the price has actually hit it. So if you are following what's happening on the monthly, we expect a sell, which means even on the weekly chart we do expect price to break below 28.343. If that happens, that is if the price successfully goes below that line, then that will give us the correct place where we want to pick a sell from. So technically it still supports the position that we are saying on the monthly. We do expect a sell. Fundamentally we do expect price to remain to the lower side. As long as the fears of this COVID-19 prevails, we expect a sell. We expect the price of oil to remain downwards. Technically we also expect price to remain to the lower side. So if the price goes below 28, if the price goes below 28.343, then that will confirm that we are indeed continuing to the lower side. So the best is to actually look for a sell. We are not going to look for a buy as I'm speaking now. There's no opportunity for buying. But if the price goes below 28.343, then that will give us the ideal place where we want to continue selling it from. So let's see what we have. Let's see what we have on the next symbol, on the same symbol on a lesser time frame, maybe on the daily. We have the daily chart. So far this is the same thing. There is nothing much to be added. We are seeing, looking at the same sell. We had this level here, a resistance here, we had a resistance here, and then we have a support there. We had a resistance, a resistance, a resistance. There's a break, there's a retracement. So as I'm speaking now, this is still a very, very good sell. You are supposed to look for a sell. And if you are to sell it previously, you could have sold it after a break below this point. So when the price went below and then it came back, this gave us the correct place to look for a sell from. So expect a break below this level here so that you can pick a sell, expecting that sell to take price much lower. So thank you very much. I hope that brings out the reason why we've seen the price of oil decline. And to relate it to what I was saying, the COVID-19 situation, we've seen that it's possible that the current situation is leading to the decline of oil, because we do have, as I've mentioned, the impact of the virus driven by the psychological factors, and then the demand of oil globally has declined. Then most refineries, they've actually cut down the production of oil. They also don't import oil. There's very, very much low demand of oil. So the low demand leads to excess supply. And when there's excess supply, the price of everything has to decrease. So that explains why the price of oil is decreasing, because most companies, they've actually shut down. Most countries, they have actually shut down. They're in a lockdown, which means they don't need oil at the moment. So the ones which has been produced or which have been produced before, they're actually not being used. So thank you very much. That should be the end of today's webinar. We meet again next week at the same time. So see you. Bye.